There's a very interesting article in Salon by Amanda Marcotte about what we are about to see Republicans do. Republicans that who are, right as we speak, coming to power, taking control of the House, and I guess selecting a Speaker of the House, although it's been harder to actually get that done. The article is called "The GOP is About to Go Wild with Phony Biden Investigations. The Media Must Not Take the Bait. Republicans know how to manipulate the both sides impulse of the press. Hunter Biden's laptop is not a story," writes Amanda Marcotte. This is an important admonishment that I hope is being made in corporate media newsrooms around the country, although I fear that it is not. The both sides narrative is a toxic form of false equivalence that has unfortunately become really common in corporate media. And there's a couple of reasons why. And this is the idea that all political viewpoints are equally valid and deserve to be heard, regardless of their factual basis, regardless of their connection to reality. It's intellectually lazy. It undermines critical thinking. It undermines rational discourse. And those are elements that are essential to a functioning democracy. Why does corporate media do this? Why does corporate media have, to use one example, one person who says, here's the climate science, and one person who just denies it? It's 50-50 on your screen. I mean, look, I see this talking head saying, here's the climate science. And I see this talking head saying, you can't believe any of that stuff. They're getting 50-50 representation, even though in the empirical community, one side has more than 99% agreement of the scientific community behind them. Why does corporate media do that? There's two main reasons. Number one, they do it because they want to avoid being called biased. To some degree, they say, well, listen, it's controversial, so let's represent these two things 50-50, even if in reality they are not 50-50. That's one reason. The other is for ratings. It's much more interesting to do these debates where you actually foment the belief in things for which there is no factual basis. When the media fall for this trap, they give credibility to lies and misinformation, and they perpetuate those ideas. They perpetuate also the idea that there's not really an objective truth. Listen, let's have a debate as to what the tax rate should be. Okay, well, that's a debate. There are moral questions, economic questions, fairness questions, governance questions. Fine. Let's have a debate as to whether climate change is real. Totally different thing. Irresponsible. And by the way, I'm fine with discussions among people who disagree about the climate science. I think that that's fine. The problem is that corporate media that does 39 minutes of content per hour or less, the rest is commercials, and hosts 4-minute debates where half the debate is a climate science denier, that's a different thing that we're talking about. And it's especially dangerous in the current political climate, where we see the rise in authoritarianism. We see a decline in trust in institutions. It's important for the media to hold politicians accountable. It's important for the media to hold public figures and so-called experts accountable for their words and their actions. But you've got to do so in a way that at least somewhat aligns with reality. It doesn't mean you give equal weight and time to baseless conspiracy theories and propaganda. And that's where we get to Joe Biden, the Biden crime family,
Truth Central.
I accidentally hit the Truth Central button because I'm so wound up. What we have to see here is a recognition that the Hunter Biden conspiracy theory is the prototypical example of how the both sides narrative can end up just being so destructive. It's been thoroughly debunked. It's been fact-checked. They insist on baseless elements of Hunter Biden's background. At some point, the media has a responsibility to report what the facts are, not to promote baseless conspiracy theories, to give equal weight to lies and propaganda, to host false debates, which is what they are at the end of the day. And to the extent that Republicans are going to be obsessing for 2 years about impeach Biden for these crimes, those crimes, Hunter Biden, this, that, the other thing, if corporate media is going to cover that, they should just be clear. There's no credible evidence to support the things that people like Marjorie Taylor Greene want to investigate about Joe and Hunter Biden. Will they do it? Probably not.